Chapter 1567. Venomous snakes slithered out from the bushes continuously. Waves after waves of wild beasts also rushed out from the bushes, fleeing madly towards the outside. When they saw the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui blocking their way, they immediately started attacking wildly. To the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui, the extraterrestrial demonic energy was certainly something they could only dream of. However, to these venomous snakes and beasts, it was a lethal poison. They had only ventured 300 miles into the forest, but the two of them had already killed countless wild beasts that roared past them. Finally, they were only a short distance away from that black fog. Right in front of them, a huge mass of black fog was moving densely. It was the purest extraterrestrial demonic energy. The extraterrestrial demonic energy was right in front of them, as if they could obtain it easily. Both of them were breathing rather rapidly. As if sensing the arrival of the two of them, the black mist suddenly emitted whooshing sounds, and then, like 100 rivers converging into the sea, it quickly shrank back in an instant, like a black snake rushing back to its nest, and in the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. In the dark and dense fog ahead, a blurry figure appeared indistinctly. An unusually tired voice said, "To think that there would be two more people here. Where did you come from?" This voice was very tired. Not only was it tired, it was also very weak. It even gave off a subtle feeling that he would die the next moment. This person should be severely injured. Both of them had this feeling at the same time. However, in contrast to this intense feeling, that person also possessed an extremely powerful strength. It was a tyrannical strength that was almost irresistible. The combination of the two, this was a force that seemed to have reached the end of one's life. However, it still had a terrifying force that could engulf the world and destroy the entire world. There was even a kind of brutality that spread in the air. Yi Zui was suspicious. He didn't dare to answer. The Dharma Supreme raised his head and asked in a low voice, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" That voice was silent for a moment. Suddenly, it let out a low and strange laugh. "Asking questions instead of answering? What an interesting little fellow. You're quite brave. Since you're already here, why don't you come in and let me take a look?" With a swoosh, the dense forest suddenly started to decay rapidly. In the blink of an eye, a path appeared out of thin air in front of the two of them. All the flowers, plants, and trees that were originally on this path had all disappeared without a trace. It had inexplicably decayed and evaporated. An extremely flat road was abruptly formed just like that. Seeing this scene, Yi Zui and the Dharma Supreme both gasped. Such a miraculous cultivation. Even the Dharma Supreme himself would not be able to do it, much less in such a bizarre way. As the two stepped onto the path, they both felt the demonic chi in their bodies begin to circulate wildly. He couldn't help but emit dense black smoke from his body. The Dharma Supreme had naturally sensed it long ago, but Yi Zui was flabbergasted. Looking at the black gas emitted from the Dharma Supreme's body, it was a bizarre and absurd feeling as if the world had been turned upside down. Who was the Dharma Supreme? This was the ruler of the heavenly layer, who commanded the law enforcers of the world. He was a righteous leader who worked for the welfare of all the people in the Chongtian continent. And now, the heavenly demon energy, which was said to be the evilest in the world, had actually emerged from the Dharma Supreme's body. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Am I seeing things? Lord Dharma Supreme. Why you? Yi Zui was so stunned that he couldn't speak. The Dharma Supreme snorted coldly, his eyes revealing a sharp murderous aura. He turned to look at Yi Zui. An intense murderous intent. A sudden and fierce outburst. It was obvious that the Dharma Supreme was going to silence him. No matter what, he was not going to let Yi Zui live. "Competing with me for benefits, even demons have to die. If you dare to kill him, I will kill you." In the dense forest, that tired voice said indifferently, "Try moving again." The Dharma Supreme froze. He felt that the heavenly demon energy in his body suddenly went out of control, as if it was going to rush against his heart meridians. He really didn't dare to move. The Dharma Supreme could clearly sense that although the person before him was exhausted, he was not threatening to kill him. He really had the ability to kill him with one strike. Such a cultivation level, Perhaps only the mysterious girl Zhesheching could compare to him. In the Dharma Supreme's eyes, even in front of the extraterrestrial demons, he was still more important. Although Yi Zui also had the heavenly demon energy, his cultivation level was low and he was just a nobody. He wasn't of much use, so what if he killed him? Other than reducing the benefits of sharing the heavenly demon energy here, he could also avoid future troubles. After all, if his identity of having the heavenly demon energy was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Besides, there were only two people from the heavens here, Yi Zui and him. Without Yi Zui, that mysterious fiend would only have him as his only choice. Therefore, killing Yi Zui was definitely a good thing with no disadvantages. Yi Zui must die. With this thought, the Dharma Supreme pretended to be respectful and said, "Yes, I will obey Elder's orders." Listening to his words seemed to mean that he had given in. However, just as the Dharma Supreme finished his sentence, a sharp glint flashed across his eyes and he suddenly raised his hand. With a whoosh, a slight ripple appeared in the air. He was so close that he attacked with all his might. One strike to kill, one strike to kill. The Dharma Supreme was confident that his sneak attack was so sudden and the distance was so close. In the entire heavens, there was absolutely no one who could save Yi Zui. Yi Zui would definitely die, and he would die a horrible death with his spirit destroyed. Hee hee. With a sneer, a black shadow suddenly appeared in front of Yi Zui. Then, two streams of black gas appeared out of nowhere and met the Dharma Supreme's hands head-on. With two loud bangs, the two powerful forces collided, but only a very soft sound was heard. If it wasn't for the fact that the place was completely silent, even the soft sound would not have been heard. The Dharma Supreme's shock was no small matter. His thoughts flashed and he didn't dare to be negligent in the slightest as he retreated rapidly. As he retreated at high speed, the air was filled with popping sounds, as if the black gas was devouring the vibrations in the air. The earth-shattering power just now disappeared without a trace in an instant. Due to Yi Zui's low cultivation level, he actually didn't manage to react to the sudden change in events earlier. By the time he finally understood what had happened, he realized that he had actually narrowly escaped death. He was filled with lingering fear. His face instantly turned pale and his legs almost started to tremble. Suddenly, he scolded furiously, "Dharma Supreme, I respect you as a senior and have always been respectful to you. But I didn't expect you to be such a despicable person with a hypocritical mouth and a knife hidden in your smile. With your status, you actually dared to do such a sneak attack on a junior like me. Do you still have any shame? On the surface, you are the leader of the law enforcement officers, but deep down, you are a descendant of the heavenly demon. But that's not all. Why do you want to kill me? Can't you see that I am also a descendant of the heavenly demon?" Yi Zui was especially impulsive now that he had narrowly escaped death. The anger and hatred in his heart couldn't be quelled and the tyrannical emotions of the heavenly demon in his body erupted. He no longer had any scruples. With red eyes, he roared angrily, "Do you think that I am always easy to provoke?" This Duke Yi was indeed very impressive. He actually called himself elder in front of the Dharma Supreme face to face. If his elder master, Yi Chen, were to find out about this, he wondered what he would think. The Dharma Supreme's attack had failed. He already knew that the mysterious person was not only terrifyingly powerful, he was also an expert in scheming and plotting. To think that he had already been prepared for the Dharma Supreme's movements. Knowing that there was no chance of success, he decided not to attack again. As for Yi Zui's scolding, he pretended not to hear it. His lean face was still calm and composed, like an ancient well without ripples. "Hee hee." That strange person's voice said, "If you leave this place, I won't care how you fight to the death. But as long as I am here, only I can kill. No one else can. Wherever I am, that is where I am, the master of life and death." That strange person's voice was low and hoarse but filled with a peculiar rhythm. When he said this, he sounded even more domineering and imposing, like a sovereign descending upon the world. The Dharma Supreme smiled lightly. "Wherever you are, only you can kill? Ho. If that's the case, I will follow your rules and not kill him. He is just an ant." What harm is there in letting him go? That strange person was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he started panting violently. Their panting sounds were as eerie as the weeping of countless ghosts. That strange man's temper could be said to be arrogant, domineering, and extremely dictatorial. If he was not injured, the Dharma Supreme's half-mocking, half-compromising attitude would be enough to arouse his murderous intent, and he would have killed the Dharma Supreme with his palm. However, at this critical juncture, if he could save a bit of strength, he would save a bit of strength. Most importantly, with his current cultivation level, being able to defeat the person in front of him was already his limit. Speaking of stopping him from escaping, he really had no confidence. The timing was delicate now. He could not do anything that he was not completely confident in. The Dharma Supreme asked, "Is this elder from the extraterrestrial world?" That strange person snorted and said eerily, "You are asking the obvious. I am the person you are thinking of." The Dharma Supreme smiled. Then, the commotion here must have been intentionally revealed by the elder to lure us here? That strange person was silent for a moment. Then, he said, "You'd better not speak. Especially, don't ask questions. I don't like answering others' questions. If you continue to spout nonsense, I am afraid that I will not be able to resist killing you." The Dharma Supreme's heart skipped a beat. He said, "Yes." He thought to himself, this guy is really bossy and domineering. He has a lot of weaknesses in his character. These weaknesses can be exploited. This continent is actually called the Double Heavens continent. That strange person muttered to himself doubtfully. Suddenly, he said angrily, "Bah, why should I? What right does such a despicable place have to be called the Double Heavens continent?" Towards this question, the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui were both stunned. For a moment, they did not know how to answer and did not know why the other party said that. Double Heavens continent. It seemed to have been called this for hundreds of thousands of years. What was the problem? Upper three heavens, lower three heavens and lower three heavens were called the double heavens. It was logical and appropriate. This guy's attitude seemed to be a little strange. Chapter 1568. Elder, all this while, this place has been called the Chong Tien continent. I wonder what's wrong with this name. Yi Zui finally found a chance to interject, but he was stubborn and didn't even glance at the Dharma Supreme. I thought you are so powerful and powerful. But you are also practicing demonic arts like me. You better not offend me. If I get the chance, I will destroy you even if I have to risk my life. You are a fake monarch, a real demon, and your reputation will be ruined. Damn it. You better not offend me. If I get the chance, I will destroy you even if I have to risk my life. Thinking of this, Yi Zui suddenly felt a thrill of challenging authority. Wrong. Very wrong. That weirdo snorted coldly. This is a small place, just like a garbage dump. How can it be called Chong Tien? Suddenly, he stopped irritably and roared, "Don't harp on this matter anymore. If you spout any more nonsense, I will kill you." Yi Zui was speechless. Damn it, weren't you the one who started this topic? Why are you acting like this now? You keep talking about killing. If not for the fact that I can't beat you, I would have died long ago. You bastard. How can this be? How did I end up in such a shabby place? That weirdo muttered and cursed. This place can't even receive a little bit of heavenly demon chi. What a bastard. The Dharma Supreme stood tall in the wind, a smile on his face, looking calm. Although he looked calm, his heart couldn't help but weigh the pros and cons. This weirdo is injured. This weirdo is seriously injured. This person had suffered a fatal injury. Besides, it was a huge accident that he ended up here. More importantly, he didn't come here willingly. Then, how did he end up here? Although this weirdo is powerful, he can't unleash too much power now. If I want to escape unscathed, I can do so at any time with full confidence. However, if I can absorb all the heavenly demon chi here, I can achieve great success. No one in the entire Chong Tien will be my match. Be it Ning Tianya, Bu Liuqing or Wu Jueqing, they will all be no match for me. Even if that mysterious woman comes again, I don't have to be afraid, as long as I can absorb all the heavenly demon chi here. I really like making games. The strange man let out a strange laugh and said, "Now, since you're here, you must play a game with me. If you really don't want to play, just leave your lives behind." Game? Do you want to die if you don't? Not to mention a young man like Yi Zui, even the Dharma Supreme almost bit off his tongue when he heard this. The black fog rippled, and the monster inside was completely enveloped by the black fog. His face contorted strangely. "You two bastards think this seat wants to say and do this? If it weren't for the fact that I'm severely injured and the heavenly demon chi in your bodies are impure, why would I be so bored as to play games with you? It's all for the sake of purifying the sky demon chi of you two idiots. Chimpate. Don't even think about running away. If you don't play, you'll definitely die." The strange man sneered eerily. "Previously, there was a member of the Shi clan who refused to play games with me. In a fit of anger, I slaughtered everyone in that clan, not even a cat or a dog, so you're really the one behind the Shi clan incident." The Dharma Supreme's pupils shrank as realization dawned on him. During this period of time, the Dharma Supreme had naturally heard about this incident, and he was the one who knew the most about it. After all, he was the head of the law enforcement officers, and also the one whom the remnants of the Shi clan could rely on to help arrest the culprit. "It's me, so what? Do you want to play games? Don't play games where you don't mean what you say. My tolerance isn't very good." The strange man laughed cruelly. From his laughter, one could almost see that he was licking his lips greedily. Of course, this wasn't the case. He had killed so many people, and his original intention was for this so-called game. There were also some other reasons. But this matter couldn't be explained to the two in front of him. "May I know what game Senior wants to play? What are the rules? How do you want the two of us to cooperate?" The Dharma Supreme's eyes flashed. He thought to himself, if this guy wants to play games, it's definitely not simple. There's a high chance that it has something to do with the sky demon energy, or maybe it's beneficial for his recovery. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't play games at such a time and under such circumstances. But this guy kept referring to himself as I and didn't refer to himself as this lord, this. And so on. That means, this guy's position in the sky demon land might not be very high. It might even be very low. The Dharma Supreme's eyes flashed. He had already come to a conclusion. "Now, let's start the game." The strange man couldn't wait any longer. He said, "Listen to me, let's start immediately. Cake. This is a very interesting game. You might get addicted to it, Cake. If the game satisfies me, the sky demon energy here can be collected by the two of you to your heart's content. Cake." As he continued to talk, the strange man seemed to be in a good mood. In the end, he actually laughed loudly. It was just that his laughter was really unpleasant to the ears. Yi Zui and the Dharma Supreme were both rather nervous and expectant. This game, looks like it's no small matter. At the thought of collecting the sky demon energy to their heart, even the Dharma Supreme's heart couldn't help but beat wildly. You can rest assured. This game is definitely beneficial and harmless to the two of you. I can even conclude that after you've played it once, even if I don't bring you along, you'll automatically get addicted to it. The strange man laughed strangely. Then, his voice became even more hoarse. He coughed twice like a venomous snake and said, "Now, let the game begin." A ball of pitch-black demonic aura suddenly surged out, enveloping both Yi Zui and the Dharma Supreme. Yi Zui suddenly realized that there seemed to be no one around him anymore. The Dharma Supreme was clearly right in front of him, but he couldn't sense anything anymore. It wasn't just the Dharma Supreme. Where was that strange man? The entire forest and even the entire world had disappeared. In a trance, he was the only one left, surrounded by that ball of pitch-black demonic aura. It was as if this ball of demonic aura was the entire primal chaos. Then, Yi Zui suddenly realized that in this primal chaos that was completely formed by demonic aura, there were wisps of demonic aura entering through his nostrils and pores all over his body. As he breathed, they slowly entered. Then, in this primal chaos, specks of golden light suddenly appeared. They grew bigger and bigger, more and more obvious. They were actually rows and rows of golden words. Riches and honor, power over the world, supremacy, immortality, parents of one's parents, blood-related brothers, life and death brothers, beautiful wives and concubines, lifelong companions, all the people in the world, commanding the world. Everything, everything, everything. As long as it was a desire that existed in one's heart, it was all here. Whatever one wanted, it was all here. Whatever one didn't want, or didn't expect, it was all here as well. All in all, there were at least 50 of them. That strange man's tired voice rang out. The large golden words here are what I concluded. They are the goals that a person desires to achieve the most and the things that they desire to obtain the most. Everything is here. It's very comprehensive, isn't it? As long as one is a person, he will definitely have desires. Only desires are the source of motivation. That strange man sneered. Therefore, you humans are really very easy to control. As long as you grasp the key point, everything will be under your control. Let's officially start the game now. Both Yi Zui and the Dharma Supreme felt the veins on their foreheads bulging at his words. They couldn't help but ask, what exactly do we have to do? What are the rules? The rules are very simple. There are 50 choices here. That strange man said eerily, now, pick out the things that you desire the most and don't want to lose the most. You can choose. You can't choose one more or one less. Start choosing. How do we choose? They are all illusory and unrealistic things. It's even simpler. Whichever one you like, you just need to tap lightly with your finger and it will be done. After you have completed all the choices, the others that have not been chosen will automatically disappear. That strange man said solemnly, remember, although this is just a game, it is based on the foundation of both of you and the achievements that you can achieve in the end. Therefore, both of you must be careful and not choose wrongly. The moment you make a mistake, the one who will suffer the greatest loss is yourself. The moment they heard these few sentences, especially the last sentence, even the Dharma Supreme became inexplicably cautious, let alone Yi Zui. When they looked at the 50 pairs of breasts, their gazes also became much more solemn. Let's begin. The strange man waved his hand. Another ball of black fog flew out and merged with that ball of black demonic aura from before. Instantly, the two of them felt the black fog in their respective spaces become even thicker. The demonic aura that had already entered their bodies seemed to be driving their original cultivation, surging endlessly. Slowly, some changes also occurred in their hearts. Following this, the black demonic chi began to revolve, and the 50 types of desires in front of him also began to revolve. Each type of desire would pause for a moment when it was in front of him, giving them time to see clearly and make a choice. Yi Zui's brows furrowed as he stared at the golden words spinning continuously in front of him. When the words I, the unique and righteous flashed past him, Yi Zui suddenly felt a sudden change in him. It was as if he was standing at the top of the world, unsheathing his sword and looking around, killing whoever he wanted. Those who followed him would prosper and those who opposed him would perish. Looking around the universe, I, the unique and righteous, commanding the heavens and earth, no one dares to disobey me. How exhilarating, how domineering, how yearning was that. He believed that no man would dislike the exhilarating feeling of being the unique and righteous. Yi Zui didn't even realize when he had raised his hand and tapped on the words I, the unique and righteous, as if he couldn't wait any longer. The moment these 4 words were tapped, golden light shone brightly, but it was even more dazzling than the other golden words. Chapter 1569. Since he was already the most powerful person in the world, then he had to ask for a long lifespan. Otherwise, what was the point of being the most powerful person in the world for only 1 or 2 days? Therefore, Yi Zui's second choice was very straightforward and orderly. He immediately chose the option of immortality. This option also shone brightly. Yi Zui's mind was very clear and he completely understood what he was doing. He had already chosen 2 of them. Not only was there no abnormality at all, he even became more and more excited, happier and more satisfied. In a place that Yi Zui couldn't see, those wisps of heavenly demon aura were continuously invading his heart meridians. At the place where the bridge of heaven and earth was, Thick black fog was already beginning to spread. In the place where the thick fog spread, a pair of cruel eyes, like a vulture in the desert, watched the changes on Yizui's face. As Yizui's mind and meridians were contaminated by the demonic aura, more and more black aura would appear at the position of his brows. These signs symbolized that the heavenly demon origin in his body would become a little more intense. That strange man looked at Yizui's heavenly demon origin with some desire, silently licking his lips with his tongue to him. This was something that was really useful for healing injuries. Lust was the driving force and also the origin. But when lust completely suppressed rationality and could trample on everything in life, it was demonic. Everyone has the heavenly demon origin in their bodies. He laughed strangely silently. The difference is just whether it can be stimulated. As long as it is stimulated, even if it's not a demon, it's still a demon. Demons are born from the heart and all living beings are demons. I only need the heavenly demon origin. As long as it recovers, these two people will be my most loyal fighters. Since I'm here, I'll make this place my own backyard no matter what. Hihi, as he thought of this, he couldn't help but reveal the proudest smile on his face. As for the Sure clan, I thought that after absorbing so many people's soul energy here, I'd be able to recover quite a bit. Who knew that the souls of the people there didn't have the slightest bit of immortal aura at all? After slaughtering more than 1 million people, I've only recovered less than 1% of my energy. It's actually not as much as the energy I expended. Instead, my injuries have worsened. This result is really outrageous. If I hadn't gotten that thing by chance, I might not even be able to get up now. He had no choice but to use the power of those souls to complete the myriad souls exorcism array. The only thing he could do now was to see if these two fellows could pass his test in the myriad souls demon exorcism formation, completely release their inner demons, and complete their heavenly demon origins. He was watching attentively, looking forward to the results from the bottom of his heart. Yizui didn't notice those changes at all. The current him, in his mind, was already immortal and unrivaled. His heart was filled with boundless joy. It was as if he had begun to live forever in an environment where immortality and power were absolute. But, what's missing? Yizui snorted. His eyes focused on the various concubines that were spinning in the air. Then, the next target that was worth choosing appeared. Beautiful wives and concubines, as beautiful as the clouds. These words flashed past his eyes and paused for a moment. Countless beautiful women instantly appeared before Yizui's eyes. Each and every one of them was an outstanding beauty. Each and every one of them had the countenance of a flower and the countenance of the moon, looking deeply affectionate. That's right. Since there's immortality and also I, the unique and righteous, then I still lack people to keep me company. And these women can be used to pass the time. A wide grin hung on Yizui's face, his entire body filled with lust. He reached out and pointed at the words beautiful wives and concubines, peerless beauties. The next moment, he obtained all these desires in an instant. Yizui became even more complacent and began to smugly choose the fourth option. Then, Yizui realized that even though he was already unrivaled in the world, unrivaled, immortal, and had countless beautiful wives and concubines by his side, it seemed like he was still very poor and didn't have the capital to spend money like that. Therefore, he tapped on glory and wealth. The moment he made the choice, he was still rather surprised. Could it be that even though I'm already unrivaled, it didn't include glory and wealth? Just as this thought rose in his mind, he heard that strange person's voice say, unrivaled refers to power and status. Glory and wealth, however, refer to wealth and power. The two are fundamentally different and cannot be lumped together. Oh, I see. Yizui nodded. Then, he suddenly shouted, you can actually know what I'm thinking? How dare you? His current state of mind was already one of unrivaled supremacy. As he spoke, he naturally sounded condescending. At this moment, it was as if he was berating a servant. It was as if he was saying, if you make me unhappy again, I'll kill you. Such a feeling was hard to describe. The strange person opened his mouth and frowned. His face was filled with black lines. He wanted to flare up but couldn't do anything. How depressing. Fuck, how did this bastard get into character so quickly? He's actually completely immersed in it already. The strange person pursed his lips and suppressed his anger. He didn't say anything more. It's more important that you don't spoil my grand plan. Wait till I completely subdue you. After waiting for a while, there was still no response. Yi Zui only thought that the other party had already been intimidated by his divine might and was scared stiff or even scared to death. He snorted in satisfaction and lectured, "Fuck you, be more obedient in the future. Don't make me angry, or else, I'll kill you." That strange person's resentment was almost completely suppressed in his chest. He almost really died from anger. "You little brat, you're really daring. I've always made you feel good, happy, intoxicated, comfortable and excited. How dare you treat me like this? I don't want to lower myself to your level now. When your demonic nature is completely awakened, just wait to become my slave. See if I don't order you around all the time. 4 options, soon, soon." Yi Zui's wish was fulfilled and he became even more pleased with himself. He thought about it again and thought that it wasn't enough just having these options. So, he casually added my parents, my clan is grand. However, he didn't choose blood-related brothers. Those bastards, which one of them is worthy of being my blood-related brothers? I'm already immortal. What's the use of having blood-related brothers? He had these options again. It wasn't enough for him to be the only one in the world. He also had to have absolute power, the power to dominate the universe. Therefore, he chose invincible in the world. In an instant, he became a lonely expert, the kind who couldn't stand the cold at the top. But it wasn't good to always fight alone. It was too troublesome and tiring. He might as well get some loyal and devoted fighters. Yi Zui chuckled and reached out to point at brothers in life and death. But the moment he did so, his finger cut open. What's going on?" Yi Zui asked authoritatively. The definition of brothers in life and death is to contribute to each other, go through life and death together, and relate to honor and disgrace. They are not fighters. That strange person explained very modestly and cautiously. "Your definition is wrong." "Oh, is that so?" Yi Zui thought for a moment and said, "Then I don't want fighters. I want brothers in life and death." This time, he nodded very smoothly. But that strange person outside sighed. "This bastard's choice is directly equivalent to a useless effort. In the blink of an eye, it was the 8th choice." Yi Zui thought for a long time. When he saw his beautiful wives and concubines looking at him with resentment in their eyes, he let out a bitter laugh. "Sigh, just having wealth, power and invincible strength isn't enough. There's also that happiness between a man and a woman." Therefore, he chose couples' life ability without hesitation. "You only have one choice left now." That strange person's voice reminded him solemnly. Once this was done, the game would also be about to end. So fast. Why is there only one choice left? Yi Zui was stunned. He woke up from the boundless intoxication of being complacent, yet he felt a sense of urgency, as well as a sense of dejection that he had wasted so many opportunities. Then, he counted the parts that he had chosen and finally realized, I have everything. I'm still freaking all alone. As an emperor, he couldn't just lead his own family, wives, and brothers, could he? Yi Zui gritted his teeth and chose all lives in the world. All the choices were made. The strange person outside sighed from the bottom of his heart. Fuck, he had played this game so many times, but he had truly never seen such a weirdo. To actually use such a reason to choose all lives in the world. I really have to give it to you. Yi Zui pointed down. All lives in the world lit up immediately. The other 47 choices disappeared without a trace in an instant. In the vast land of chaos, there was only one choice left. The choice that Yi Zui had made, the wish to build his perfect life. Supreme in the world, immortality, beautiful wives and concubines, parents and family, glory and wealth, invincibility in the world, brothers of life and death, all lives in the world, and couples life ability. All of them, not one less, not one more. Yet Yi Zui was still sighing. He was lamenting that he could still choose something better. Forget it, the world is not complete, and there is no such thing as perfection in life. Humans should be content with what they have. These are more or less enough. He really wasn't greedy. On the other side, the Dharma Supreme was also strictly following the rules of the game and making his choice seriously. Unlike Yi Zui, who made his choice casually, he didn't choose anything at all in the first round. He only seriously considered the implications of each choice as it passed by him, what he could gain, and whether he would lose anything after gaining it. After repeatedly weighing the pros and cons, he only started making his choice from the second round. At first glance, the choices he made were more or less the same as Yi Zui's. But upon closer inspection, they were poles apart. Moreover, the order he chose was also extremely gradual. In other words, he followed the most logical order of derivation. Strong physique, number 1. Obviously, the Dharma Supreme believed that no matter what he did, he would need a healthy and strong body. Without a good body, it would be difficult to achieve anything. Even if he managed to accomplish it, he wouldn't have more opportunities to enjoy it. Invincibility in the world, number 2. Immortality, number 3. In other words, it was only after he had these that he started thinking about immortality, followed by supreme in the world. Since he was immortal, he naturally had to build a career. Commanding the world, number 5. Life in the world, number 1. Then came his parents and family. Number 8 was his brothers of life and death. Number 9 was his beautiful wives and concubines. In other words, in the end, when he had almost nothing to do, he would find a few beautiful women to play with, or at least experience something new. Cough cough, brothers and sisters, if it were you, what would you choose? Chapter 1570. The Dharma Supremes and Yi Zui's choices were almost fundamentally different. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were worlds apart. After the two of them finally made their choices, the Dharma Supreme closed his eyes and rested, carefully checking if there were any changes in his body. Yi Zui, however, was vexed. It was as if the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui had both chosen beautiful wife and beautiful concubines who are as beautiful as the clouds. As for the option of lifelong companions, husband and wife in life and death, the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui seemed to have a tacit understanding as neither of them chose it. Now that all the choices had been made, the game was also nearing its end. In the game, those inexplicable emotions were still lingering in their minds. Yi Zui was still smug, while the Dharma Supreme was forcefully restraining his thoughts. Both of them were eagerly waiting for that strange extraterrestrial demon to announce the final result. What kind of results would there be, and what benefits would there be? Have both of you made your choices? The extraterrestrial demon's voice was like a cat seeing two rats that had swallowed rat poison, full of cruelty. I've made my choices. The Dharma Supreme frowned, looking at the shining choices in front of him. He said, I completely don't feel that there's any meaning in making such a choice. What a boring game. Is it really that boring? In this illusion, as long as you select any choice, you will be able to get the corresponding feeling. That strange person chuckled coldly. Your cultivation is relatively higher, so by right, the feeling should be stronger. But now, this feeling doesn't have much effect on you. It's because you are in a high position now and can get whatever you want. You have a deep understanding of the feeling, so you can temporarily suppress it. But, don't worry. You will have a deeper understanding soon. The human heart is limited. The more you suppress it, the stronger the rebound will be. The strange person laughed strangely. Yi Zui said, Is the game done now? Can the final result be revealed? The extraterrestrial demon chuckled and said, Done? How can it be done? This is just the beginning. Just the beginning? Both the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui were stunned. Now, wait a moment. I'll test this one first. That strange person's eyes turned and he said to the Dharma Supreme. The Dharma Supreme remained silent, but deep in his heart, he was contemplating. Although this illusion was ingenious, it was still a little lacking in terms of truly trapping him. If he really wanted to leave, he was confident that he could leave at any time. Let's see what kind of tricks this guy has up his sleeve. The next moment, the Dharma Supreme keenly discovered that the surrounding sounds had also disappeared without a trace. Naturally, the sound wouldn't disappear for no reason. This guy must have used some kind of secret technique to block his hearing. The Dharma Supreme smiled indifferently, not taking it to heart. He simply sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to rest. This guy was still very wary of him. I can't even get close to him now. Now, the game has officially begun. That strange man said to Yi Zui, "Little Yi, you have chosen. The first choice is I, the unique and righteous. Not bad, not bad. A very good choice." Yi Zui snorted, feeling slightly impatient. She was clearly at the peak of her success, yet this fellow was being so naggy and annoying. Unexpectedly, the surrounding black demonic aura suddenly fluctuated and Yi Zui discovered that he couldn't move his body at all. Moreover, he had a clear and subtle feeling that his life would immediately disappear if he made even the slightest move. This was the feeling of being infinitely close to death, and it was so clear. Yi Zui instantly panicked. He couldn't even stand properly, his legs trembling. Focus all of your attention. Now, you have to do exactly as I say. If you make even the slightest mistake or pause for too long, you will die. You will die miserably, the strange man said in a gloomy voice. You have chosen the option. Now, go ahead. Now, if you immediately abandon one choice, I will allow you to keep 8 choices. If you don't, you will die immediately. Choose. Yi Zui was suddenly stunned. His choice was I, the unique and righteous, immortality, beautiful wife and concubines. Family, glory, wealth, invincibility, life and death brothers, all the people in the world, and the ability to live as a couple. He really wasn't willing to abandon any of these. Just as he was hesitating, he felt his head suddenly constricting, giving off a piercing pain. That strange man outside was counting. Every time you choose, I will only give you the time to count to 10. If you don't make your choice when the time is up, you can go to hell. 1, 2, 3. Yi Zui was sweating profusely. He didn't expect that the choices in this game would actually kill him. What a scam. When he heard that the number of strange men had reached 5, Yi Zui hurriedly shouted, "I choose to abandon all the people in the world." The people in the world didn't seem to have much to do with him. The counting of strange men stopped immediately. Yi Zui only felt that his head had instantly become relaxed after he made his choice. Then, he saw the 4 words "all the people in the world" in front of him suddenly dim. In the next instant, it had already disappeared without a trace. And he was completely unaware that the demonic aura in his heart had also improved by another level in that instant. An intense and bone-chilling pleasure arose spontaneously, making him feel as if he was floating in the air. Such pleasure instantly washed away the displeasure from earlier. There are still 8 choices. Now, abandon one more. Those who don't choose by then, die. That strange man's voice rang out as if urging him to do so. 1, 2, 3. Glory, wealth, and status. This time, Yi Zui didn't even wait for the number to reach 4 before he made his choice. There are still 7 choices. Abandon one more. Remove I, the unique and righteous. Yi Zui panted and asked, "How many choices can we keep in the end? The game isn't over yet. Everything is unknown. There are still 2 choices. Abandon one more. Remove brothers of life and death. There are still 5 choices. Remove invincible. There are still 4 choices. Remove." Yi Zui was conflicted. 4 choices. There were still beautiful wives and concubines, ability to live as a couple, immortality, and family clans. 4, 5. The strange man had already finished counting this time. Yi Zui's head was in so much pain that it felt as if it was about to explode. His eyes were already in so much pain that they were hazy, and there were faint traces of tears flowing out. He hugged his head and shouted, "Remove beautiful wives and concubines. Remove them." The headache stopped abruptly once again. The strange man chuckled coldly. "Not bad, not bad. There are still 3 choices. Continue to choose." The headache started again. This time, Yi Zui made his choice extremely quickly. Remove ability to live as a couple. He had already lost his beautiful wives and concubines. What was the point of keeping this? There were only 2 choices left. He could keep both of them, right? Reality was the cruelest. This kind of choice was practically a kind of torture. Because, in this illusion, he already had everything. It was human nature to not want to lose what one had. Now that he had to give up one choice after another, it was as if he had worked hard for a lifetime only to have no choice but to give up one choice after another. This kind of feeling was as if he was cutting flesh from his own body while he was still alive. It was incomparably painful. There are still two choices. Immortality, and the family clan. Continue to choose. The strange man's laughter was like an owl's. 3. 7. Yi Zui cried out in pain, prostrating on the ground. Tears and snot flowed down his face. He was in an extremely sorry state and his consciousness had already become blurry. Immortality was the only great benefit that he kept for himself. But how could he abandon his biological parents? How could he sacrifice them? How should he choose? But, if he didn't choose, he would die. He would die miserably. He was already in so much pain now. Was he going to die miserably later as well? It was only at this point that he truly felt the cruelty of the simple choice game. The strange man's voice rang coldly like a soul-pressing bell. Yi Zui felt that his brain had already reached its limit and would explode in the next moment. His brain was splattered and he died miserably. The strange man was about to shout 10 when Yi Zui had already shouted desperately, "Remove immortality." He finally cried out in pain. Have you chosen your family clan? You're quite filial. Originally, if you had chosen immortality, it would have saved you a lot of trouble. Now it's time for the additional choice, the last choice. The strange man actually sighed and said, the last choice is your family clan. You have to remove it. Because, in this choice, you didn't choose your own life. But you do exist. Therefore, you still have to make one last choice. Are you going to sacrifice yourself or are you going to sacrifice your parents, your closest kin? The 10 count starts now. 1, 2. This time, the counting was obviously slower than before. But at this moment, Yi Zui was completely stunned. He actually still had to choose. There was clearly only one choice left and he actually had to abandon it. Between his own parents and himself, how was he going to choose? Yi Zui howled in agony. If I die, I'll have nothing left. But how can I abandon my parents? Thinking of his father's stern face and his earnest teachings, thinking of his mother's white hair and gentle gaze, Yi Zui suddenly had the urge to commit suicide. How long had it been since he had a good chat with his mother? And how long had it been since he had a good heart-to-heart talk with his father? The two of them created him. Could it be that he actually had to sacrifice them in exchange for his own survival at this juncture? In this illusion, no matter what he lost, it all felt completely real. Yi Zui had already gone through 8 choices in a row. His heart was already riddled with holes. Suddenly, he gritted his teeth and glared. His gaze was cruel and selfish. Occasionally, his face would be filled with admiration as he murmured, "Father, Mother." The two expressions alternated back and forth. In between his brows, a ball of black aura suddenly gathered and dissipated. His heart meridian was suddenly filled with demonic aura and suddenly dissipated without a trace. Right now, it had already reached the most critical juncture. Outside, that strange man's expression became unusually solemn. Looking at Yi Zui, his hands were continuously forming complicated seals, producing endless demonic aura and accelerating the erosion of Yi Zui. As long as Yi Zui chose himself in the end, he would be completely selfish. Under the influence of such dense demonic aura, his demonic nature would completely erupt and transform into the most complete demonic heart, which would then erupt with the demonic origin. The strange man believed that Yi Zui would definitely make the right choice. Chapter 1571. Yi Zui's expression became even more pained. Beads of sweat continuously formed on his forehead and fell to the ground with a thud. The ground was already wet. He didn't even notice that he had long exceeded the 10-count time limit. He was just completely immersed in this choice. If I don't choose, I will die. If I choose father and mother, I will still die. But if I choose myself, father and mother will die. At this moment, Yi Zui was muttering like a maniac. His gaze became more and more frenzied and his expression more and more intense. That strange man stared intently, a smug smile slowly appearing at the corners of his lips. It's about time. He had seen quite a number of people before, and there was no lack of people with high cultivation. But in the end, without exception, they all chose to be selfish and chose himself. This little one was a cruel and vicious pugilist who killed without batting an eyelid. There would definitely be no accidents as to how he would choose in the final round. He would definitely make the correct choice. At this thought, that strange man's tongue unconsciously hung out and greedily licked his lips. As long as this little one made the choice, the heavenly demon's origin would be formed and he would immediately swallow half of it to make up for the damage to his demonic soul. Although this little one's strength was weak, he could at least make up for 1% of it, right? As long as he continued like this, there would come a day when he would be able to fully recover and even improve. Because in this world, no one could stop him and no one could compete with him for resources. Although this was a garbage dump, he could change qualitatively due to quantity and improve infinitely. When that time came, he would be able to go wherever he wanted to go. At this thought, he accelerated the stimulation of Yi Zui's soul. Although this action required him to use his origin energy, as long as he succeeded, the benefits would be considerable. This was the only way for the heavenly demons to strengthen themselves since time immemorial. It was also the strongest method. Suddenly, Yi Zui raised his head abruptly. Blood spurted out of his 7 orifices at the same time. He roared into the sky. A cruel smugness appeared in the strange man's eyes. He knew that Yi Zui had already made his final choice. Moreover, the space between Yi Zui's brows was already filled with black aura. Obviously, he had correctly chosen himself. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any signs of black aura gathering. Humans were indeed selfish. The strange man thought mockingly. His mood relaxed, he removed the seal on his spirit and was about to move forward. However, right at this moment, a sudden change occurred. The black aura between Yi Zui's brows dissipated abruptly. Almost in the blink of an eye, it completely dissipated and disappeared without a trace. The strange man was taken aback. Before he could realize what was going on, Yi Zui had already bellowed, "My parents cannot die. I can't die, I can't die. You can't die no matter what." He roared with all his strength, "I'll die, I'll die. I'll die, I'll die." Arth. The demonic chi in his heart veins and between his eyebrows receded like a tide. The strange man cried out in shock. He felt that his demonic soul had been hit hard by the demonic chi that had suddenly chosen to retreat. He had just relaxed his mind, but now, something unexpected had happened. He had just removed the seal on his divine soul and was instantly hit. In a trance, he suffered a great backlash. His vision turned black, and a gurgling sound came from his throat. A mouthful of black blood came out. Fucking hell. How could this be? How could this be? The eccentric was furious. This was definitely not the result that the strange man had hoped for. Ah! Yi Zui roared. The moment he made his final choice, the surrounding demonic chi became chaotic. The strange man had suddenly suffered a backlash, and the demonic formation had turned from stable to chaotic. Yi Zui's mind suddenly regained clarity, and there was only one thing in his mind: I want to go back and see my parent. He suddenly leaped to his feet and shouted, "Father, Mother." He spread his legs and ran away. In an instant, he actually broke out of the encirclement of the demonic chi and dashed out of the dense forest at lightning speed. Although his mind was in a mess, he had already run away without a trace. The cooked duck had actually flown away. The duck that had clearly been placed on the table and was about to enter his mouth suddenly came back to life and flew away. The strange man was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Oh, not almost, but he was already vomiting blood. His eyes were filled with inconceivable shock, as well as incredulity that was so intense that it almost solidified. He flew into a rage out of humiliation. Fucking hell, what kind of shitty thing was this? Not only had his plan failed, he had even suffered an inexplicable backlash. In that instant, he couldn't stop the other party from leaving at all and could only watch helplessly as the demonic formation failed and the little one flew away. What the fuck was this? How did this happen? Was this little one still a fledgling demon? This was an unexpected turn of events. This little one actually ran away, and he even had to stay here and vomit blood. Fuck. Fuck. The strange man felt as if his intestines had been twisted into 70 or 80 pieces. Finally, he couldn't help but spit out the most classic curse since time immemorial. Could it be that I've actually seen a ghost today? I was clearly infinitely close to success. Otherwise, I wouldn't have relaxed my mental control and prepared to accept the results, only to unexpectedly suffer from a backlash. The strange man scratched his head, looking depressed. But what the fuck is going on? If it had been someone else, for example, the kind who had always been chivalrous and righteous. If this kind of demonic formation failed, then so be it. There was nothing to say about it. Their natures naturally countered each other, so it was rare for it to succeed. But who was this Yizui? He was a fledgling demon who cultivated the heavenly demonic art. Could it be that those who practiced demonic arts in this heaven's continent were actually good people? If not, why did it fail? It was really incomprehensible, unreasonable, and unbelievable. Also, not only did the demonic heart transformation ritual fail, he could even break through the demonic formation and run away on his own with just that little bit of cultivation. How was this possible? This heavenly demon strange man felt that his thoughts weren't enough. There were too many impossibilities. Even if they did happen, if not for the fact that Yizui's cultivation was really insignificant, the strange man would even suspect that Yizui was actually the incarnation of some super heavenly demon playing games with him here. This is really fucking amazing. He muttered to himself. This one here can't also be that kind of person, right? After thinking for a while, he still decided to regulate his breathing first. If this also causes a backlash once, no way. This time, I must wait until I've absorbed the origin energy before I release the mental seal. If it fails again, then there's really no justice in this world. After the heavenly demon strange man regulated his breathing for a while and recovered slightly, he came to the Dharma Supreme with a very cautious attitude. To be honest, the Dharma Supreme was definitely not the best choice. Yes, the level of the Dharma Supreme's demonic power was much higher than Yizui's. If he activated his demonic origin, the effect would definitely be much greater than Yizui's. However, the Dharma Supreme's strength was also much higher than Yizui's. Therefore, the potential danger was naturally much greater than Yizui's. However, the Dharma Supreme was already the heavenly demon strange man's last hope, especially at this moment after the Yizoui's unexpected counterattack. The heavenly demon strange man's actual strength could be said to be invincible in this world. Usually, it was not much different from playing with the Dharma Supreme. However, the injuries on his body had already exceeded the limits of what an ordinary person could endure. To put it bluntly, his life could be in danger at any moment. If he couldn't get support from the heavenly demon's origin energy, then he could only wait for death in this heavily injured place. The Dharma Supreme had already been waiting for quite some time. Due to the demonic fog, he couldn't hear any movement on the other side and didn't know how Yizui was doing at the moment. Although the two sides were very close to each other, he was completely in the dark. This was the characteristic of the higher-level heavenly demon demonic power. Even if the heavenly demon strange man's life was in danger and could even die at any time, the heavenly demon's special ability he was using could still completely block the Dharma Supreme's senses. The temporary relative difference in reality couldn't exceed the absolute difference in instincts. The Dharma Supreme's determination was not something Yizui could compare to. He didn't care what would happen to Yizui, he only persisted in his own choice. Until the last step. When he heard the heavenly demon strange man's voice again, the Dharma Supreme opened his eyes slightly. After listening to the rules of the game, The Dharma Supreme's expression changed slightly. This new rule of the game seemed to be within his expectations, but also beyond his expectations. However, the Dharma Supreme still accepted this test calmly. The first to be eliminated, unsurprisingly, was his beautiful wife and concubines. Beautiful wife and concubines are at most a pastime in life. Women are just playthings, pure playthings. If one blocks the other pleasures of life because of women, then one is just a fool. This was the reason for the Dharma Supreme's choice. When he chose to abandon them, he didn't even feel the slightest bit of pain. He made his choice cleanly and neatly. For the second, he gave up on all living beings in the world. For the third, he gave up on commanding the world. From the fourth, the Dharma Supreme finally started to struggle and suffer, just like Yi Zui. Because what was left was a strong body, invincible in the world, immortality, supremacy, parents and family, brothers of life and death. No matter which one it was, he didn't want to give it up. The pain that the Dharma Supreme suffered was not inferior to Yi Zui's. Although his cultivation and temperament couldn't be compared to Yi Zui's, this game's punishment was in the illusory realm of the Great Array and targeted his soul and spirit, not his cultivation level. If not for this, with the heavenly demon strange man's current strength, he would have to pay a price to inflict such pain on the Dharma Supreme. Although endless pain was on him, the Dharma Supreme didn't even groan in pain. Even though his mind felt like it was shattering and thousands of needles were piercing him, he didn't make a single sound. Even his face didn't show any signs of malevolence. He was just in so much pain that he was sweating profusely. As time went on, the pain that the Dharma Supreme suffered became more and more severe, gradually exceeding the limit that Yi Zui had previously endured. However, the Dharma Supreme was still able to hold on. This was because his endurance benefited from his temperament and cultivation and was incomparable to Yi Zui's. The greater the pain, the calmer the Dharma Supreme's expression became. Chapter 1572. The almost endless stabbing pain in his mind made the Dharma Supreme feel like he was better off dead. However, his brain was still operating clearly, pondering and considering, making a clear choice to give up. Only with a strong body can I be invincible in the world. Only with invincible in the world can I be the best in the world. Only after I am the best in the world can I think about the problem of immortality. Only after everything is perfect can I take care of my family and my brothers. If one's self is perfect, too much consideration is nothing more than an act of worrying oneself over nothing. It seems like family and brothers are the most unnecessary. No, I am supreme and invincible. What is my ultimate goal? What is it for? Therefore, family and brothers cannot be abandoned. The Dharma Supreme was sweating profusely, still struggling and resisting. The heavenly demon strange being observed calmly. He had completely lost the confidence to win and was just purely operating the demonic array. Were the people in this world crazy? The ant-like fledgling devil just now was already very unexpected. This one with a higher cultivation level in front of him, did he not feel pain? Even in the Heaven Palace, there were not many people who could resist this level of pain. What kind of world was this? The only thing that supported the heavenly demon strange being was that the Dharma Supreme was still making a choice, still continuing this game. Remove, I am supreme. The Dharma Supreme's eyes were as cold as snow as he finally made a decision. The heavenly demon strange being breathed a sigh of relief. He was really terrified now and did not dare to talk nonsense. He hurried on with the fifth item, bitterness rising in his heart. Could it be that the people in this world and the Heaven Palace are actually different species, just looking similar? He should have been the first to give up his brothers. In this case, am I going to face failure again? Then I get rid of immortality. Remove invincibility. Now, there were only 3 items left. A strong body, family, and brothers. The Dharma Supreme's steady breathing finally became heavy. He had chosen here, but he was almost at his limit. He hesitated even longer. Finally, he said hoarsely, remove, a strong body. I only keep my family and brothers. I request to keep these 2 items. No more choices. No. I have to make another choice. The heavenly fiend eccentric didn't relax at all. He only felt more and more dejected and disappointed. At this moment, he just wanted to end this embarrassing game as soon as possible. This game that he had been leading and dominating had actually escaped his control again and again. Get rid of the parent clan. The Dharma Supreme closed his eyes. Ever since he had returned to this world, it could be said that he had never cared about his family and loved ones. He had always thought that they were just decorations for his successful life. But when he gave up at this moment, he realized that he had actually put these things at the end of his choice. They were actually more important than his body, strength, and perfection. In the end, when he had to give up, he still felt like his heart was being cut by a knife. His heart seemed to shatter in an instant. However, he never chose to abandon his sworn brother. I've already betrayed you once. I have already abandoned all of you once. This time, no matter what, I will never abandon all of you. Never. Before the Dharma Supreme's eyes, the faces of these brothers seemed to appear one by one. Even though tens of thousands of years had passed, each and every one of them. But they were still so fresh in his memory. I'm sorry. The Dharma Supreme lowered his head sadly. I'm sorry. Brothers, I let all of you down back then. It's my fault. But this time, I've made a new choice. I've finally left all of you at the end, to let all of you accompany me forever. If things could be redone, we would definitely be able to. Live and die together, we would definitely be able to. Live and die together. The Dharma Supreme's eyes were brimming with tears. It's a pity that choices can be made. But life can't be redone. Finally, there's still one last choice. The voice of the heavenly demon strange being rang coldly, with a strong murderous intent. If the Dharma Supreme still made the same choice as Yi Zui in the last choice, then the heavenly demon strange being would choose to kill the Dharma Supreme without hesitation. Even if it was beyond his power, he would still go all out, even if it meant perishing together with the Dharma Supreme in the end. Because there was basically no hope for him anymore. Since that was the case, he might as well let this guy die with him. Last choice. What else is there to choose? The Dharma Supreme, who had always been calm and collected, suddenly flew into a rage. I'm only left with my sworn brother. If I abandon him again, I'll really have nothing left. There's only one option. How do I make a choice? Are you messing with me? No. How can you have nothing left? Don't you still have your life? The heavenly demon strange being's cold voice seemed to be devoid of any emotion. He said slowly and cruelly, last choice, do you want your life? Or do you want your brother's lives? Last choice, you have to make a choice. The Dharma Supreme's vision turned black. Suddenly, he let out a loud roar and spat out a mouthful of blood. The earlier choices had always been easy for him. Even if he had hesitated, once he made a choice, he was still resolute. However, when it came to the last option, the Dharma Supreme suddenly had a feeling of rebirth of life and turning back time. It was as if he had returned to the heaven-mending cave. His brothers were about to be thrown in by that person, yet he was considering, should I deceive my brothers and borrow their soul energy to let myself live? Or should I let everyone die together? Or should I sacrifice my own soul energy and distribute it to my brothers so that they have a higher chance of survival? He was still feeling gratified that he didn't betray them this time, but he didn't expect that the next moment, he would once again be faced with the cruelest and most difficult choice. Thinking of the gratification just now, facing the choice now, the Dharma Supreme laughed mockingly. Was he hesitating? Was there a need for him to hesitate? He had to admit that this choice really came at a goddamn good time. This was really a fucking wonderful irony. Choice. This is the last choice. The heavenly demon strange being laughed sinisterly. Once you make your choice, you will be completely free and free. There won't be any more choices. The Dharma Supreme's entire body started to tremble. All along, he had always avoided the word brothers. He had always avoided any contact or even any memories. When he saw the option of life and death brothers in the big choice this time, he almost instinctively chose to reject it and not choose this option. However, when he reached the end of the selection process and chose the 8th option, he still subconsciously chose this option. At that time, He had secretly observed his surroundings for a long time before he finally chose this option. It was a subtle feeling of being a thief. Whether it was intentional or not, subconsciously or not, he had ultimately chosen it. Since he had chosen it, then so be it. He could have given it up that day. Would he give it up now because he couldn't? What a joke. However, no one knew. When he chose life and death brothers as his all, he was actually so excited and throbbing in his heart. Now, he actually had to face giving up again. He had to face betrayal again. He had to face abandonment again. The Dharma Supreme started to tremble violently. His eyes were already somewhat dazed. After a long time, he suddenly covered his face with his hands. Now, he felt that he had once again returned to the front of the heaven-mending cave. He had truly returned. His brothers were all beside him at this moment. He was facing the imminent crisis of death. What should he do? What should he do? He was no longer Dongfang Badao, nor the Dharma Supreme, but Diwu Chochang. Back then, he was one of the Tribulations think tank who worked together with this brother to conquer the world. He, who was once the smartest, had now lost all his cultivation and was imprisoned in this absolute place. And the one who imprisoned him, it was this brother's most respected big brother. It turned out that he had other plans. It turned out that he had been using his brothers all along. Everyone was angry, they were wronged, they were confused, and they were in despair. His brothers all looked at him with eyes full of trust. Chochang, you clicked on the most. You are the smartest. But is there any other way? Death is nothing. But to die in such an aggrieved manner, where is the justice? Is there any other way? Diwu Chochang laughed bitterly in his heart. How well did Big Brother understand people like us? Since he had done such a thing now, how could he not have considered our reactions? As long as there was a glimmer of hope. He also wouldn't gather them together. If he dared to do so, it meant that no matter what, we would not be able to escape from his grasp. We would definitely die. Perhaps, there is still a chance. There is only this one chance, a chance to seek justice. I cannot make any guarantees. Diwu Chochang said in a trembling voice. What chance? Tell us, tell us. The brothers were energized. That person said that after we died, the power of our spirits would be used by him to mend the sky. By then, one of us would definitely enter a cave, and there would be a total of the center of the cave. That, Diwu Chochang muttered absent-mindedly. He was trying his best to restrain himself. Don't betray us again. Don't abandon us again. At this point, the expression on his face was extremely painful. He could not help but stop. However, the brothers urged him anxiously. Hurry up, there is not much time left. He will come back at any time. Yes, the sooner the better. Chochang, tell us quickly. We all believe you. You have always been the most intelligent among us. We want justice. No matter how slim the chance is, it is good. Diwu Chochang's whole body was trembling. He was struggling fiercely in his heart. Justice? Where can I go to seek justice? I don't even want that chance. Should I just die here? Die together. Then, no one would have to feel guilty. No one would have to betray us. Or, should I destroy my own divine soul and share my energy with my brothers? No matter whether they can get out alive or not, no matter if there is a chance or not, I have not let my brothers down. At least they don't have to struggle anymore. But, in this way, I will really have nothing. My foundation, my great ambitions, I still have a belly full of grand plans, I still have countless goals in life, I have endless wisdom. But, I will have nothing. I can do things that none of them can do. But, if I die like this. Chapter 1573. When the Dharma Supreme thought of this, his vision suddenly turned dark and his head started to hurt intensely. The pain this time was as if he was being sliced into pieces, surpassing all the cruel punishments that came at him together. It was as if he was in the 18 levels of hell, where all kinds of punishment methods came at him at the same time. The Dharma Supreme held his head with both hands and roared at the sky. His expression was ferocious, no longer as calm as before. He roared continuously. He had been very calm and composed all along, but the agitation at this moment was much more painful and intense than Yi Zui's earlier. Make your choice quickly. If you don't, you will lose the chance to choose. The heavenly demon eccentric's low voice rang out. I choose. The Dharma Supreme panted heavily. His whole body was sweating profusely and he was on the verge of collapsing. Quick. If you don't choose, we will die together. I. The Dharma Supreme tore at his own hair in pain and finally gave up. His whole body went limp as if there were no bones in it. His eyes were lifeless. I'm sorry, since he had already betrayed them once, then, what's wrong with betraying them again? I persevered this time and didn't betray them, but will they forgive me just like that? We are all people who are not allowed to have flaws. As long as there is once, there will always be a not. The Dharma Supreme smiled bitterly, but 2 drops of tears slowly fell from the corners of his eyes. I didn't expect that when I had a chance to restart my life and let you choose again, I would still choose to betray you. I still don't want to die. I really just don't want to die. Can you all forgive me? I choose to live on by myself. The Dharma Supreme's eyes widened, his consciousness completely broken down. He stared blankly at the sky, as if there were still 8 brothers looking at him. The innermost one injects the power of the spirit to give that one a chance to live. After a series of painful struggles, the Dharma Supreme finally repeated the choice he had made back then. If they had all died that time, it would have been fine. But if one of them wanted to go out and seek justice, it would be the same for any one of them. But the Dharma Supreme still chose himself. This could have allowed the other brothers to accept this chance of survival. But he didn't. This was where his pain lay. This time, he was worried. Even if he had repented, he had been stubborn for 30,000 years. How could his brother forgive him? Since I can't forgive him, then, what's the point of persevering? Since he had already been sentenced, there was no turning back. After making this choice, the Dharma Supreme felt as if his soul had been sucked out of his body. He fell limply to the ground. Then, a surge of pure heavenly demonic energy surged into his mind and into his heart meridians. With a loud boom, the Dharma Supreme could only feel himself suddenly shattering into thousands of pieces. He fell to the ground with a thud and lost all consciousness. A ball of extremely dense black chi quickly formed between his eyebrows. That ball of black chi was even darker than the night. Finally, it transformed into a shiny black seed. It slowly emerged from his forehead and floated in the air. Heavenly Devil's origin. Unexpectedly. He actually succeeded. The heavenly fiend eccentric, who had originally wanted to drag others down with him, stared at the heavenly fiend origin that had just been formed. His eyes and mouth were wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. I really didn't think that I would succeed this time. Even at the last moment, it was already a failure. But he actually succeeded. This was too unexpected. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief before he finally believed that this was actually true. He couldn't wait to reach out and split that shiny black object into 2. Half of it immediately dissipated into a thick black smoke that was shiny and black. He took a deep breath and the black smoke was like a river converging. It gushed into his mouth like a fountain. With a wave of his hand, a gust of black chi was sent out. He urged the remaining half back into the Dharma Supreme's body. With a swoosh, it entered the Dharma Supreme's forehead and disappeared without a trace. At this moment, the Dharma Supreme was still unconscious and was completely unaware of all these changes. Finally, one succeeded. Demon Venerable above. Thank you for your grace that there are still heavenly fiends on this forsaken continent. Otherwise, this unfilial grandson of mine would have died mysteriously in this low-level plane. The heavenly fiend eccentric prostrated himself on the ground, so emotional that his eyes were brimming with hot tears. After absorbing that little bit of heavenly fiend origin energy, his body seemed to have improved considerably. At least, it was no longer as easy to die as before. Now that I have absorbed the first heavenly fiend origin energy, I can be considered to have some capital again. I can finally try to target ordinary martial artists. The heavenly fiend eccentric muttered to himself, if I only target people who practice demonic arts, the amount is too little and can only be found by chance. But now, I have more or less accumulated some. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to develop and grow stronger. He lifted the Dharma Supreme's body and floated into the depths of the forest. This fellow won't die, but he will only wake up after half a month. By then, he will be a genuine beginner heavenly fiend. My body won't be able to fully recover in a short period of time, so I can only rely on him. The 1 million people I killed previously was enough to set up 15 demonic arrays. After I absorb a few more people, I will go and kill another batch. If I do that, it won't be just 1 million, I will need at least 3 million to barely be enough. The people in this plane are really trash. If I can awaken the demonic heart, I will be able to spread my demonic nature. There will be no kindness in this world, everyone will be a demon. The demon venerable's words are simply too reasonable. Which of the demon venerable's words is not reasonable? Just as the Dharma Supreme and Yi Zui were accepting the selection of demonic arrays in the forest, Chu Yang and the rest of the 12 people were rushing toward the forest without stopping, where the city of fairies was, where the 8th fragment of the Calamity Sword was. There was no time to lose. The heavenly fiend's descent had been confirmed. If everyone's strength couldn't be raised, then what awaited them would really be death. Therefore, everyone was burning with anxiety. It was just that no one would have thought that the place was also where the devil was. Nothing could be more coincidental than this. Along the way, Chu Yang and Ju were still at loggerheads, bargaining with each other non-stop. A certain king of hell who was full of wisdom seemed to have gained the upper hand. No way. If I find it, I will definitely bring it away. There is no room for negotiation. How can that be? Chu Yang, humans should be content with what they have and not be too greedy. Why not? This is already my bottom line. If you find it difficult, I don't mind backing out. I won't go to the city of fairies with you. You. How about it? He. You win. And that? I want it too. I want it all. If you find it difficult, tell me. I will back out and you won't have to be troubled. It's simple. Hiss, every time there was a bargaining dispute, as long as Chu Yang used his trump card, back out. I won't go to the city of fairies. I won't help you. Ju would definitely be defeated by this threat. He would retreat immediately. The two quarreled and bargained along the way, refusing to budge an inch and spitting saliva everywhere. In this kind of situation, the brothers naturally sided with Chu Yang. Ju was even more alone. Every time, he would be angered to death. After losing, he would sign an agreement and leave hatefully, hiss and hiss. But not long after, Chu Yang would think of a new condition and immediately start extorting again. Thus, the cycle repeated. It was unknown if it was because a certain duke had gone too far in extorting people in the past 3 days that the heavens couldn't stand it anymore and sent a certain king of hell to punish him. In short, a certain duke was extorted to death by a certain king of hell, but he couldn't stop even if he wanted to. King of hell Chu took advantage of the situation and pursued the enemy. The brothers beat the enemy when he was down. These days, Duke was suffering every day. Mo Qingwu and Mo Lei were puzzled by this and were very puzzled. Seeing that Mo Tianji and the others didn't stop him, the two women finally couldn't help but whisper to each other. Something seems wrong. Although Mo Qingwu was exceptionally smart, she was also a little confused now. So you also noticed it. Something is indeed wrong. Mo Lei also frowned and said, although Duke isn't one of the Tribulation Brothers, he's at least a very good friend of ours. Furthermore, he's helped the few of them many times before. Bargaining and extortion like this for a friend is a little too much. Not to mention anything else, just the last time he barged into the Allied forces alone and attracted the attention of a large number of experts. That was a huge risk. Thinking about it now, I still feel scared. If it were me, not to mention going, just talking about it makes me nervous. Just based on this, Boss Chu really shouldn't be so calculative, yes. Mo Qingwu nodded her little head repeatedly. I also can't understand this matter. Chu Yang isn't that kind of person. Why is he so calculative? If it's just once or twice, it's fine. Everyone can laugh and joke around, and it'll be over. But it's repeated extortion. Isn't it a little heartless? It seems a little unkind. Mo Leia frowned. Why is it like this? I also don't understand the reason why Chu Yang is doing this. Could it be that he has some difficulties? Why don't we ask my second brother? He might know the reason. Mo Qingwu said, don't let them play around too much and hurt the hearts of friends. That would be really hard to make up for. The gains don't make up for the losses. Mo Leia deeply agreed. The two women were both intelligent people. They didn't act rashly and put this matter aside for the time being. Chu Yang and his brothers were still having a war of words with Jukyu when they set up camp that night. It seemed as if they were addicted to this game. It seemed as if they wouldn't give up until they had thoroughly dug out all of this guy's resources and took advantage of him as much as possible. But Mo Qingwu quietly pulled Mo Tianji out. Chapter 1574. Mo Leia also followed. She was slightly dissatisfied. She was prepared to give Mo Tianji a stern warning if he couldn't give her a satisfactory explanation. As a woman behind a man, she had to speak up when it was time. After all, these brothers had been through so much to reach this point. It would be a pity if there was any misunderstanding that led to a knot in each other's hearts. What's the matter? Mo Tianji, who was originally deep in thought, was suddenly pulled out of the crowd by his sister and into a private room. He couldn't help but be confused. What was his little sister doing? Sure, lower your voice. Mo Qingwu put a finger to her lips and whispered, let's first set up a supreme martial artist force field to block out the sound. It won't be easy for others to hear what we're about to say. Mo Leia agreed with this. If Jukyu heard this, even if he didn't think much about it before, he would think much about it now. Then, the two of them would be doing bad things with good intentions. The supreme martial artist force field was quickly completed. What's going on? Why are you making it so mysterious? Mo Tianji scratched his head in confusion. He asked in confusion. What's going on? Why are you still asking? I thought that second brother was a steady person. It turns out that you're also so frivolous. You've led Chu Yang astray. Mo Qingwu whispered, second brother, don't you feel that you've been a little too much recently? I've led Chu Yang astray? We've been too much. What do you mean? Mo Tianji tilted his head. It seemed that he was implicated again. Did Chu Yang do something bad? But these days, Chu Yang spent most of his time with his brothers. There was nothing unusual. As for me leading Chu Yang astray? This sentence was really incomprehensible. It was clearly Chu Yang who was slowly leading me to change. Mo Qingwu and Mo Leia stood together. Mo Qingwu said bluntly, you're still saying that you're stirring up trouble, especially Chu Yang. He's too much. Second brother must have instructed him to do this. Chu Yang is too much. I instructed him to do this. What did he do? Mo Tianji's expression became more and more strange. Are you referring to the bargaining and extortion with Jukyu these days? So you know. Mo Leia heaved a sigh of relief. You knew, yet you didn't say anything to stop it. Could it be that you really planned this? Mo Qingwu stared at her second brother as if she was looking at a schemer. Could it be that the two of you think that Chu Yang has let down his friends by doing this? Is it excessive? Mo Tianji's expression became even more strange. Do you think that? Jukyu is definitely not an enemy. In fact, he's a very close friend of ours. He's even helped us a lot along the way. Isn't it inappropriate for us to scheme against him like this? Yes, that's right. The two girls nodded their heads fiercely. They shouldn't have done that. Mo Tianji's words were indeed the most important thing. Mo Tianji let out a long sigh of relief. I thought it was something important. So it was because of this. You guys. Isn't this a big deal? Mo Qingwu said cautiously, second brother, don't hurt a friend's heart. Mo Tianji found it funny, and shook his head. I only realized today that the way men and women think is different. Men and women think differently? What do you mean by that? Hearing this, Mo Qingwu and Mo Leia were a little depressed. This Mo Tianji, what nonsense is he talking about? Brother Mo, what do you mean? Please be specific. Let us understand. As a black devil, Mo Lei was not below Brother Jie in terms of martial arts knowledge, intelligence, and experience in the martial world. She had always boasted that she was not inferior to men. Now that she heard Mo Tianji's words, she couldn't help but feel a little unhappy. Don't misunderstand. I understand what you mean. Mo Tianji smiled, and with a hint of ridicule, he said, the two of you are worried that Ju is really angry because of the repeated extortions, and Chu Yang's actions are suspicious of taking advantage of the situation. Furthermore, he's taking advantage of a friend's situation. His methods are a little despicable, right? The two girls didn't say anything. It was obvious that they agreed. That was indeed what they thought. Was that not the case? Logically speaking, your thoughts aren't wrong. But have you noticed that after being extorted by Chu Yang for so long, Yu couldn't take it anymore and retreated in grievance, right? But have you noticed one thing? Yu lost every time, but he fought every time. It can be said that he lost every battle, but he fought every time. Every time he said that he couldn't take it anymore, but after so many times, have you seen him really unable to take it? Is Yu of the three heavens someone who only knows how to show off? Mo Tianji smiled. Yu is proud and arrogant. He won't easily lower his head to others. With Yu's temper, why would he give in time and time again for an external object? Logically speaking, he should have left after this one time. He should have long given up on the city of fairies and fled far away. But in reality, he has already done this more than 10 times. Why is he still here? Mo Qingwu and Mo Lei looked at each other. Yes, why? Mo Tianji smiled mysteriously. It's very simple. If you can't understand from looking at Yu, you can analyze from the other side. Everyone knows that Chu Yang is definitely not a heartless person. But this time, he's very different from his usual self. He's trying to take advantage of others and would rather die than suffer a loss. Not only is he very different from his usual self, he's also relentless and relentless. Why? Is Chu Yang really such a despicable person who forgets righteousness at the sight of profit? How is that possible? Second brother, don't talk nonsense. Chu Yang must have his reasons for doing so. There must be an important reason, Mo Qingwu refuted immediately. Yes, you know that it's impossible. But why don't you think about why he would still do that? Mo Qingwu blinked, but she was confused. Yes, Yu wasn't such a person. Chu Yang wasn't such a person either. But why did such a thing happen? Mo Lei was also thinking. Jiu Duxing isn't a fool. Ao Xieyun and Xiedan Qiong aren't either. Dong Wu Shong isn't either. Ji Mo and Luo Ku Di look carefree, but they can see this matter clearly. That's why they didn't come out to stop it. Instead, they added fuel to the fire. Why? Mo Tianji asked. When he asked, his eyes were only looking at Mo Qingwu. He wanted his sister to learn some things. As for Mo Lei, that was Dong Wu Shong's responsibility. It didn't seem to have much to do with him. It wasn't good to overstep his boundaries, especially when the other party was his brother's woman. Mo Qingwu blinked in confusion. She tilted her head and fell into deep thought. Yes, why? Why? Mo Tianji smiled bitterly and looked at Mo Lei. Seeing that she was also confused, he couldn't help but understand. Men and women are indeed different. My sister is like that, and the black demon is like that too. No matter how smart a woman is, she won't be able to understand a real man. Just like how even the most amazing man in the world wouldn't be able to fully understand any woman's psychological changes. It's the same principle. I'll say it in more detail. Have you all noticed that Yu had been blackmailed by Chu Yang many times? In fact, he had asked for it himself. In other words, he had delivered it to his doorstep. Mo Tianji could only remind her further. For example, yesterday morning, Yu said something in anger. That sentence was, "Since you're going overboard, you can take whatever you want from the city of fairies. But if there's the holy fruit of the fairies, you definitely can't touch it. Isn't that right? Is there such a sentence?" Yes, there is. Mo Qingwu nodded her little head. Yu then said that he misspoke. Misspoke? What kind of person is Yu? He might not have misspoken even once in his life. Why would he misspeak at such a critical moment when he's being blackmailed? Mo Tianji snorted. Huh. Mo Qingwu frowned. Especially after Duke Yu misspoke, Chu Yang immediately started to take advantage of the situation and started to blackmail the holy fruit of the fairies that was specially told not to touch. Yes, there was such a thing. Chu Yang is really too much. He already said not to touch it, why did he? Does this have anything to do with what you said? Could it be, Mo Qingwu and Mo Lei were both completely confused. Thinking about it this way, it seemed like one was willing to take the hit and the other was willing to take the hit. Both of them were doing it on purpose. The so-called not to touch it was just a hint. Forget it, don't worry about it. Let me explain it to you in detail. Mo Tianji sighed. I really don't understand. Even Dong Wushang can understand the essence of this problem. Why are you two super smart women stuck in a dead end and unable to come out? Mo Leia frowned and was about to fly into a rage. What do you mean by even Dong Wushang could understand it? Mo Tianji, what do you mean? Dong Wushang isn't as good as you. If you can understand it, how can he not? Mo Leia was furious. It's fine if you're talking about me, but you're talking about my man. According to Mo Tianji's words, isn't that saying that the man I like is the stupidest? Mo Tianji's face contorted and he was in great pain. He definitely couldn't answer this question. Once he did, he would be waiting for a thunderbolt from the clear sky and a storm. He had to endure it. After rubbing his temples for a long time, he finally decided to avoid the topic. He explained directly, Duke Yu's identity is no longer a secret to us. He's a fairy, possibly the last fairy and the only fairy in the world. Duke Yu's current actions and his ultimate goal in life are also very obvious. In this life, he doesn't want to rush up to the heavenly imperial court. He doesn't even want to participate in the battles of the mortal world. He only wants to accompany Jun Lulu and live a carefree life in the heavenly imperial court. Isn't this hard to understand? Mo Qingwu and Mo Leia nodded. Indeed, Duke Yu had always had this tendency. Including the restoration of the City of Fairies this time, it was only driven by the will of the ancestors and the mission of the race. It wasn't his true intention. And this point was made clear when he first met Chu Yang. Chapter 1575. That's why it's hard to understand. If it's not inevitable, why do they have to compromise? It doesn't seem to make sense. Mo Tianji laughed in a deep voice and said, moreover, all of you have seen Duke Yu's special ability. He can make flowers bloom in the cold winter. He can also make elixirs that have been growing for thousands of years mature in just a few years or even a few months. His cultivation may not be considered heaven-defying, but this special ability of his race is the best in the world. It's not an exaggeration to say that he is the best in the world. As for us, we're going to charge up to the heavenly imperial court in the future. Chu Yang has the unique ability to fuse heavy pills. Duke Yu can accelerate the growth of all elixirs for Chu Yang's use. If Duke Yu and Chu Yang work together, what will the result be? Mo Tianji asked calmly. Mo Qingwu and Mo Leia gasped at the same time. One could fuse heavy pills that could bring the dead back to life and increase cultivation, the other could accelerate the growth of all elixirs. If the two of them worked together, if the two of them really worked together, it was equivalent to an irresistible concept. They had a treasure trove with them. As long as the brothers prepared 1 or 2 pills before every battle, everyone would be equivalent to Rui Bu Tong of the Phoenix clan. They couldn't be killed or destroyed. This was the legendary ultimate luxurious dream combination, a legendary combination that even myths and miracles couldn't describe. This kind of combination is enough to make anyone and any force in the world jealous. It's the same even in the Heaven Imperial Court. However, this result is contrary to Duke Yu's lifelong dream. He has never thought of going up there. Therefore, this legend cannot be realized. But if Chu Yang helps him find the spring of life and help him restore the City of Elves, it's equivalent to a new lease of life for the elf. To Duke Yu, the only elf, it's an even bigger favor that can never be fully repaid. Even if we don't talk about their friendship, just this favor alone is enough for Jukyu to serve him for life. If Chu Yang goes up to the heavenly imperial court, what will Jukyu do? What can he do? Are we just going to watch our benefactor fight a bloody battle without doing anything? While he enjoys the worry-free environment that his benefactor and brother created for him? With Jukyu's personality, how can he do that? But if he follows Chu Yang, what about Jukyu's lifelong wish? He still has so many things to worry about. When Mo Tianji said this, Mo Qingwu and Mo Leiye sighed in unison. Yes, this was indeed a problem. It was difficult to satisfy both sides. He was in a dilemma. It was an unsolvable dead knot. Therefore, this matter has become a dead knot in a dilemma. Mo Tianji said in a profound manner, how can Chu Yang make things difficult for Jukyu? He was even more unwilling to force Jukyu to do something that he didn't want to do. Therefore, Chu Yang's current actions were to resolve this dead knot between the two sides. He was treating this matter as a complete transaction. It's a naked deal full of exploitation. After the deal, we won't owe each other anything. His current attitude, from the bottom of his heart, shows that he no longer recognizes Jukyu as his friend. Both of them are just a group of people who benefit from each other. And, Chu Yang himself is also waiting for the right price. They extorted as much as they could, trying their best to take advantage of the situation, taking it bit by bit. In this way, both sides only have interests left. Once the city of elves recovered, Chu Yang would be able to retreat. Even if Jukyu wants to repay something, Chu Yang can also firmly refuse. This is equivalent to telling Jukyu, you don't owe me anything at all. In this way, Jukyu's heart will also feel better. Therefore, in what Chu Yang is doing now, all of us are working hard to cooperate. But no one said it out loud. You guys only see the surface of the matter and never think deeper. The more Chu Yang extorts, the more Jukyu will gladly endure it. That's the logic. Mo Tianji took a breath. That's why I said that this is a matter between men. You women are really far behind in this aspect. Mo Qingwu and Mo Leiye looked ashamed. I see. Mo Qingwu said, I knew it. Chu Yang is a man of character who values relationships. How can he be so unscrupulous? So there's a deeper meaning. Mo Leiye took a deep breath. She said, it's just that, this is a little, too much of a pity. Unfortunately, with Chu Yang around, it was equivalent to having a natural alchemy furnace. As long as there were herbs, it was equivalent to having an endless supply. With Jukyu around, it was equivalent to not having any shortage of spirit herbs. If Jukyu didn't go up, with this missing link, he could only passively search for finished spirit herbs. In that case, more than half of his functions would be cut off. Without herbs, it was basically like a housewife couldn't cook without rice. It's indeed a pity. Mo Tianji also sighed. But not only do we have to respect our friends' wishes, we also have to think of ways to fulfill them. Chu Yang's extortion now has made me respect him even more. If it were me, Mo Tianji, I really wouldn't be able to do this. After all, the temptation is really too great. And no matter what Jukyu does, no matter what he pays, in my opinion, it's hard to offset the glory of the City of Elves, but Chu Yang is able to let this happen quietly. In this matter, I believe that there may not be one person who is so selfless. But Chu Yang did it, really did it. Mo Tianji sighed. From the moment I discovered this, I knew that I was really convinced by him. I'm not as good as Chu Yang. This breadth of mind is something that I can't compare to in my whole life. He looked warmly at Mo Qingwu. Perhaps you didn't realize that since a few days ago, when Chu Yang looked for you, I didn't object at all? You praised him without restraint in front of me, and I wasn't angry anymore. It's just because he's worthy of your reliance, worthy of your praise, and worthy of your love. He's even more worthy of my, Mo Tianji's, recognition. Mo Qingwu's face turned red. Instantly, she felt both embarrassed and happy. There was also an indescribable sense of pride. This is Chu Yang. The man that I like. He's so different. Also, between us brothers, it's precisely because we realized the essence of this matter that we became more united and more cohesive. Mo Tianji shook his head and said, Our brothers have always been very good. But there are two people, namely Ao Xieyun and Xie Danqiong, who have always been a little incompatible. Although it's just a little, there's always a gap. The foundation of the relationship between the two of them and the rest of us is slightly weaker. Fundamentally speaking, it's just fate. The fate of the tribulation is irresistible. The dragon and the phoenix race are indispensable. That's why they became one of the tribulations by chance. But after all, it's not as deep as Chu Yang's Du Xing and Wu Shong's, who fought all the way from the lower three heavens. But after this matter, that feeling has shrunk infinitely. In these few days, it's almost completely disappeared. Perhaps today or tomorrow, that little bit of incompatibility will also completely disappear. Mo Tianji said, it's because of Chu Yang's actions. Perhaps Chu Yang himself hasn't realized this subtle change, but I've already clearly noticed it. His charisma, doing things honestly, and treating people with good intentions, unintentionally and unintentionally, good karma will naturally form. So this matter is also of great benefit to us. Some things don't need to be said because everyone understands. But since you've asked today, I have to explain it clearly. Mo Tianji said warmly, because you can only ask me about this matter. You can't ask Chu Yang or Dong Wushang. If you ask, they'll be very unhappy. Mo Tianji secretly added another sentence in his heart. Perhaps Chu Yang won't care about explaining because of his love for Xiao Wu, but Dong Wushang will definitely fly into a rage. Because he'll think that Mo Lei's suspicion is blasphemous to the relationship between his brothers. Of course, facing Mo Qingwu and Mo Lei, even if there was such a difference, Mo Tianji wouldn't say it out loud. Otherwise, his head would really be kicked by a donkey. Mo Tianji leisurely walked out of the room, and continued to participate in the negotiation and battle of words with Juqiu. Mo Qingwu and Mo Lei were speechless. The two of us have thought too simply. Mo Lei smiled bitterly and said, Men's hearts are really hard to find. It's obviously for the sake of others. It's obviously something that both sides understand, but they still want to deliberately mystify things. They already have a tacit understanding, but on the surface, they still want to make it seem like it's real and make the woman behind them worry. It's really, really hard to understand. Mo Qingwu smiled and a kind of understanding rose in her eyes. She said slowly, perhaps, this is the so-called self-esteem of men. Mo Lei raised her head and looked at Mo Qingwu with some surprise. She nodded slowly and said, yes. The next morning, the 10 men who had been arguing for half the night were all in high spirits. This nightmare of collecting debts has finally come to an end. About 300 miles ahead, as long as we turn around that mountain, we'll be able to see the forest where our destination is. Juqiu laughed heartily. Old man is finally back. This time, it was very likely that he would be able to realize his lifelong pursuit and complete the great cause of his race. He would be able to completely break free from the shackles in his heart and get rid of the ties that belonged to his race. Juqiu's heart was filled with infinite joy and relief. He turned his head slightly and looked at Chu Yang. A trace of apology flashed through Juqiu's eyes. It was just a flash, so fast that no one noticed it. Or perhaps, even if someone saw it, they pretended not to see it. I'll keep this apology in my heart for the rest of my life. That's right. We're getting closer and closer to our goal. Chu Yang also smiled proudly and said, this also means that the day you fulfill your promise is getting closer and closer. Brother Yu, don't be stingy and go back on your words. All kinds of medicine have to be sold in this world. Even my heavy pills have a source, but the medicine for regret can't be bought anywhere. Chapter 1576. Juqiu was stunned. He gritted his teeth and said, can't you just let me be happy for a while before you speak? Will you die if you shut up for a while? The brothers laughed. The more unrestrained they were in their conversation, the closer their friendship would be. How could they see their true feelings if they kept everything hidden? At the same time, the group of people used their best movement techniques and rushed out like arrows leaving the bow. At such a close distance, no matter what kind of mount it would not be faster than a supreme martial artist flying at full speed. In just a few minutes, The group had already arrived at the top of the mountain and looked down at the boundless forest in front of them. Below them, there was a huge forest full of rich greenery. It stretched for thousands of miles and they really couldn't see the end of it. The forest's greenery rose and fell with the wind like the waves of the sea. Looking at this beautiful and spectacular scene, the brothers were all dazzled. "It's really beautiful," Chuyang praised sincerely. "This scenery is really the heaven's equal holy realm. If I can roam here for the rest of my life, I wouldn't even exchange it for being a deity." Dukyu thought for a while and said with a smile, "What's so difficult about this? If Brother Chu ever gets tired of the martial world, you can come and settle down here anytime. No matter when, 4 generations to come, I will always reserve a place for Brother Chu here." Chuyang laughed. "How can I not follow Brother Dukyu's good intentions? Thank you very much, Brother Dukyu. Please remember to reserve a place with good scenery for me." The two of them looked at each other and laughed in unison. However, both of them knew that Chuyang's words were already the final conclusion. In the heavenly continent, their friendship would last forever. Outside the heavenly continent, only Chuyang, Mo Tianji and the others would go together. Dukyu had already completely let go. Perhaps there was still a lot of guilt in his heart, but up until today, Chuyang had completely erased it. Or rather, during this period of time. As their friendship grew deeper, there was no need for both sides to feel guilty anymore. It was just that Chuyang and Dukyu didn't know that because of this sentence today, the most beautiful place in the City of Fairies had lost its owner for a long time. It had become the most forbidden place in the City of Fairies. No matter how powerful, famous, clan master or leader came to the City of Fairies, they had no chance to enter that most beautiful place. Even the powerful people in the heavenly imperial court couldn't enter. Just for the promise of reserving a place for himself today. "Go down." Chuyang smiled casually. "Hold on." Mo Tianji took a deep breath. His complexion turned solemn as he looked at the forest below the mountain. Then, he said in an exceptionally solemn tone, "Something is wrong. This seems a little strange." Chuyang and Dukyu frowned as they heard this. All the brothers concentrated their gazes and looked over. Just now, everyone's attention was not on observing the situation, so they did not pay too much attention to it. Now, they focused on observing. Indeed, they could faintly feel that there was something wrong with this forest. It was really a little strange. The forest was still the same forest, full of greenery, full of vitality, and full of the aura of life. However, in this great atmosphere, there was a hidden sense of danger that had yet to be revealed. Although it was hidden to the extreme, it still felt very real. It was as if there was a ferocious beast hidden inside. It was about to devour someone. Moreover, it was a peerless beast that could devour anyone. This feeling is somewhat familiar. Ao Xieyun frowned and said, "An exceptionally terrifying pressure. It seems that even the heart can't beat normally under this pressure." "Yes, this feeling. It's the same feeling that I had when the black aura descended that day. It's just that it's a lot fainter now, as if it's completely hidden. However, the feeling is indeed there. Yes. It's that feeling." Once Ao Xieyun mentioned it, all the brothers immediately reacted. They all expressed their agreement. Not only is it completely hidden, it's also deliberately concealing itself. However, a heavenly demon is a heavenly demon. No matter how much it conceals itself, it will still be detected. Chuyang's gaze was solemn. The conclusion is that the heavenly demon is actually here. Mo Tianji forced a smile and said, "Brother Yu, if our estimation is correct, then your lair is likely to be occupied by the enemy at this moment. And this enemy is someone with terrifying strength that we can't contend against right now." Dukyu gritted his teeth and said, "Heavenly demon? It's actually him? Why would he be here? This is too much of a coincidence. It's so coincidental that it's frightening." Chuyang took a deep breath and his gaze was deep. After the heavenly demon massacred the She clan, his whereabouts were unknown. No one in the entire martial world knows his whereabouts. However, although it's unexpected that he's here, it's not unreasonable. This is because from the south of the She clan, one has to pass through this dense forest. Such a vast and dense place is undoubtedly the best place to hide. Dooku instantly felt his teeth ache and said angrily, "What the fuck is this? We finally got a chance to restore our clan's glory, but it's actually taken by that heavenly demon? This is really outrageous." Everyone was speechless. If this was the case, Dooku was really unlucky. Chuyang pondered and said, "Don't be too depressed. This enemy may not be undefeatable." Dooku turned his head. "Oh." Judging from the situation of the heavenly demon's descent, he's indeed an enemy that we can't defeat at our current stage. However, when he was dealing with the Shi clan, he inadvertently revealed his true strength. A low-grade supreme martial artist was able to escape from his hands. What does this mean? This means that this heavenly demon's descent is not only severely injured, but his injuries are also far from fully recovered. His strength is also far from his peak state. Now that he's annihilated the Shi clan, I believe that his strength must have been depleted. Therefore, he stopped here and hid in such a secluded place to recuperate. If not for this, the heavenly demon wouldn't be so peaceful in this world. Also, another important reason why I'm able to deduce that his injuries have not fully recovered and are even showing signs of worsening is that he's obviously deliberately concealing all his aura so that no one can detect him hiding here. However, we still managed to detect him. This result means that this heavenly demon has a problem controlling his strength. Therefore, his injuries are definitely very serious and his strength must be greatly reduced. If this is the case, the heavenly demon is very likely to be at his weakest state now. Otherwise, with his strength, he could run rampant in the world. Who would he need to be afraid of in this world? Why would he need to hide his whereabouts like this? Even if he deliberately hides his whereabouts, he can't hide it well. Based on this deduction, although we don't have absolute confidence in getting rid of the heavenly demon or killing him, the risk may not be too big if we take a risk now, Chuyang said calmly. Chuyang insipidly said, "This risk is worth a try. If it succeeds, we'll help brother you take back this forest. And, we'll eliminate the hidden dangers of this calamity. But, if it doesn't succeed, we'll still be able to escape unscathed." Chuyang raised his eyebrows and sneered, "But no matter what, we can't be afraid before we even fight." All the brothers roared in agreement, saying yes in unison. Mo Tianji's expression did not change, but he sighed in his heart. As a wise and far-sighted person, how could he not have thought of this? Previously, he had already said that he could not fight against the heavenly demon because he wanted to avoid this place first. It was not that he was afraid of the heavenly demon, but he still could not bear to give up the great temptation of the fairy race and the tribulation swordmaster. He wanted to make a final attempt. It would be best if everyone left this dangerous place temporarily and continued to wander the Jianghu together. At that time, Elder Yu would naturally leave with the brothers. In the worst case, he could use all his strength to look for elixirs in the following period of time. Chapter 1577. Mo Tianji warned sincerely and then turned to Chuyang. "What do you think needs to be added?" Chuyang pondered for a moment and found that there were basically no oversights. He said, "Just add one more point. If we encounter an extraterrestrial demon and are ultimately no match for it, then brother Yu and I, Lone Ranger, Wu Shong and Tong, will work together to cover the retreat. Everyone else must escape immediately. No one is allowed to hesitate and definitely not turn back. If we get separated, we will meet at the tavern in the town where we came from. Be there or be square. Those who are not responsible for covering the retreat are absolutely forbidden to attack. Whoever dares to turn back and delay will drag the brothers down and die together. This is important to remember." Chuyang took a deep breath and his dangerous gaze slid across Jimo and Luo Kedi's faces. Others could still weigh the pros and cons, but these two fellows really didn't care about their lives once they were impulsive. Jimo grinned and said indifferently, "Remember, we all have one life anyway. I'll just escape first. If I find that you guys are dead, I'll go look for you guys again. Are you still worried that Second Master Ji won't listen to orders?" Luo Kedi nodded vigorously. "Second Master Luo will also escape first." Chuyang was furious. "Beat him up. Who the hell are you calling yourself a master? Immediately, punches and kicks rained down, beating the 2-second masters into a pulp. Chu Yang and the others rushed down the mountaintop like a hurricane. Then, they rushed in the direction of the forest like lightning. What Chu Yang and the others didn't know was that just a few thousand feet above their heads, high in the sky, there were 2 people standing there, silently watching Chu Yang and the others. They had been standing there all this time, but no one would have noticed that they were actually standing there. They had already become one with the void. There was no sign of them. Lord, isn't this a little too risky? Although this extraterrestrial demon's strength has already been reduced by me, an extraterrestrial demon is still an extraterrestrial demon. An old man with a white goatee looked down with an unusually cautious gaze. Seeing Chu Yang and the others rushing into the dense forest like a hurricane, his gaze was a little puzzled, vaguely like he was looking at dead people. He couldn't help but criticize in his heart, such an extraterrestrial demon, and I actually have to deal with it personally. Moreover, they are like embroidery. I can't kill them. If I were to relax, I would only be able to kill them. This old man really spent a lot of effort. I had to kill dozens of them before I was able to control my strength. He won't. The lord this person mentioned was none other than Xue Leihan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. At this moment, he was still dressed like a soldier. His face was calm. They are not far from breaking through the void. It is not a bad thing to know the existence, strength, and tricks of the heavenly demon earlier. He paused. He said, "Why not? Why would I waste so much effort to get a half-dead heavenly demon here? Is it fun?" Master's intention, this old man naturally understands. But, their current strength, what if? The old man was still worried. Just like what Xue Leihan had said, even with Xue Leihan's ability and power, it would still take a lot of effort to bring the heavenly demon from the extraterritorial battlefield outside the Heaven Palace. What if? What if? With you and me here to look after him, what could possibly happen? If they can't even pass this hurdle, even if they do, how much progress can they make? Xue Leihan said lightly, "Prime Minister, Chu Yang and the rest are about to break through the Heaven Palace. Once they do, it will be the true beginning. And I am destined not to be able to watch over them all the time. So, before they break through the Heaven Palace, I will start my closed-door training." Xue Leihan narrowed his eyes and said heavily, "I will start my closed-door training. You will be in charge of everything. For the time being, let them explore the Heaven Palace on their own. All of you, do not interfere with any of their matters. You just have to maintain the stability of the overall situation." Yes, this old man understands. That old man replied respectfully, "Only if there is a conflict with the other sovereigns, you can then intervene. Otherwise, they can do whatever they want." Xue Leihan said again. Yes. An inexplicable look flashed across the old man's eyes. These few little fellows. Were they qualified to have a conflict with the other sovereigns? They were peerless overlords who were on par with the Lord. But, it seemed that the Lord had really put in a lot of effort for these few people. He did not hesitate to use so much manpower, material resources, and even many favors. Manpower and material resources were nothing. Favors were the most difficult debts to repay. However, Xue Leihan's next sentence really shocked him. "If I don't go into closed-door training, I'm afraid I won't be able to resist getting involved personally. It's just that the impact on their growth will be too great. It won't be of any benefit to the overall situation in the future." The old man with the goatee widened his eyes, almost speechless. He was guessing a possibility in his heart. Could this Chu Yang be the Lord's illegitimate son? Could it be that the Lord had once had a one-night stand here? This and that. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but have a strange look in his eyes. "What are you thinking about? Why are you in such a daze?" Seeing the old man's ambiguous look, Xue Leihan was instantly angered. The old man turned his head awkwardly, thinking to himself, "I've really been rude this time. I haven't made a fool of myself like this for hundreds of thousands of years. Don't overlook any of their details. Especially pay attention to the process of their battle." Xue Leihan said, "You can watch carefully. You might be shocked." There seemed to be great confidence in Xuelehan's tone. The old man secretly grinned, thinking to himself, what kind of attention can there be? Against such a half-dead heavenly demon, I can kill it with a puff of my breath. Yet, I still have to observe it with full concentration. Even a guardian wouldn't be as protective as you. What kind of unexpected changes can happen to things in the lower planes? And to be shocked. In the depths of the dense forest, the heavenly demon eccentric whose injuries had improved slightly was guiding a cloud of black aura that was even darker than the thickest ink to roll up and down. He was condensing his own demonic energy, hoping to recover as soon as possible. In front of him, there was an additional hole. In the hole, the Dharma Supreme lay quietly. Another cloud of black aura that was equally black encircled his body. The more it spun, the more urgent it became. It gave off a faint whooshing sound continuously. This empty mouth had obviously reached a critical juncture. The heavenly demon eccentric stuck his head out from time to check on the situation in the hole. He murmured, "Soon. It's really soon this time. He's going to wake up soon. I really didn't expect this matter to be so troublesome. It's already been a few days." Right at this moment, his expression tensed up. He raised his head abruptly. Someone's coming? The heavenly demon eccentric senses naturally wouldn't be wrong. Someone was indeed coming, and this person didn't come with good intentions. The heavenly demon eccentric didn't get a response to his question. The only response he got was a swift and violent aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas. That was an aura that was filled with hostility, murderous intent, and death. Due to the aura, it was as if a violent hurricane had suddenly swept through the entire forest. Countless towering trees. Neatly, they were blown to one side by the wind. It's definitely an enemy coming. Could it be that it's attracted by that little guy who escaped previously? The heavenly demon eccentric's expression instantly became brutal. How dare they come to find trouble with me? Courting death. No. It should be nutrients delivered to my doorstep in order for me to recover as soon as possible. Heh. With a sweep of his body, he turned into a cloud of black smoke and rushed in the direction of that extremely strong aura. Ju and Chu Yang formed a team of two. With relaxed expressions and slow movements, they swept into the dense forest. The other teams maintained the same attitude as the two of them and entered at the same time. If one were to judge from their appearance, everyone's expressions would appear to be unusually relaxed. However, everyone here clearly knew that. Under this relaxed appearance, there was an incomparable cautiousness hidden. Everyone's nerves were stretched taut. It could be said that this was the first time that all the brothers had attacked with all their might. The first time that all of them had gathered together and used a prearranged formation to deal with an enemy together. An unusually strong enemy. Everyone raised their cultivation to the limit. They were ready to attack with all their might at any time. In the face of an unpredictable and powerful enemy, who would dare to be the slightest bit careless? If they were careless, not only would they be in danger of dying, but their brothers' lives would also be sent to this place. In a quiet place, Chu Yang and the others had already entered 200 miles into the depths of the dense forest. However, they still didn't discover any abnormalities. They couldn't sense any aura or traces of the enemy at all. However, that mysterious and strange pressure was getting heavier and heavier. It was precisely because of this heavy pressure that everyone's vigilance didn't decrease, but instead increased. They became even more cautious and careful to prevent any negligence. The dense forest is vast. Hiding a person is like hiding a needle in a haystack. Do you want to try another direction? Dukyu said in a deep voice. No need. Mo Tianji was in the middle. He stood in front of Mo Qingwu and said slowly, such a strong and resolute existence will come and fight us as long as he detects our hostility. He won't avoid the provocation of a group of ants. Everyone nodded slowly. Another 15 miles of space receded under their feet. Suddenly, without any warning, right in front of everyone, where Chu Yang and Dukyu were, a black smoke that was darker than ink suddenly rose. An unusually strong and indescribable evil aura suddenly spread out. The black smoke filled the air. It swept towards everyone with an unimaginable and astonishing speed. A faint shadow could be faintly seen in the midst of the black smoke. Cuckoo cuckoo. A series of eerie and strange laughter rang out. 1,000 mountains and 10,000 waters spirit moon. Duke Yu, who had the highest cultivation among the group, was the first to make a move. Suddenly, an incomparably bright moonlight appeared in the dark forest. Duke Yu was also the first to pounce out. The moonlight instantly transformed into a sharp long sword, and violently slashed out. In Chu Yang's group, Duke Yu's cultivation was the highest. He had already reached the level of supreme martial artist. The enemy's strength was difficult to estimate. No matter what, Duke Yu had to be the first to block and create a gap for the others to deal with the enemy and counterattack. Almost at the same time, Chu Yang didn't say a word. The calamity sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The moment it appeared, it had already violently exploded with bright light. It was like the most beautiful meteor, streaking across the sky. It followed closely behind Duke Yu and sped away. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,